Healing from childhood trauma truly is a courageous journey for a lot of reasons. And today I want to talk about one of the things that inevitably comes up, sometimes many times, along this journey, and a little reminder for when it happens. Welcome, I'm Peggy Oliveira. Thank you for joining me. If you have been on this journey for any length of time at all, potentially even just a month into it, but certainly the longer you've been on it, probably the more this has happened. And that is that part of healing is being able to learn to cope in different ways. Part of the healing is being able to honor and validate experiences and feelings that you've maybe been in denial about, that you've been really effective at pushing to the side. That is really, in many ways, a lot of what this healing journey is about. And with that, as you're learning new ways of coping, meaning that you're not using the ways that you're used to, the automatic things that you've done throughout your life, when you start honoring and validating, you are recognizing the reality. You are accepting the truth of betrayal and pain and hurt and so many other things along with that. And naturally, in doing that, you're going to feel things that you have been incredibly adept in not allowing yourself to feel. And that has served an incredibly important purpose. There has been a lot of value in you not feeling those things and not thinking about those things in the way that you are starting to think about them. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's certainly nothing to be ashamed of in that. That has served a really valuable purpose in your life, in our lives. I have definitely done that too. But the thing about healing is that in order for us to heal what has created all of this wounding and pain and heartbreak, is that we have to be able to see it. We have to be able to honor it and validate it. And with that, we are going to think about things in ways that maybe we've not thought about before. We're going to feel things in ways that we've not allowed ourselves to feel before. And when that happens, people often will think, this isn't working for me, I'm worse off than I was before. They will also think, how long am I going to be able to handle this? Or I don't want to deal with this anymore. I was feeling better before. People will sometimes feel like they're incapable of healing because they will find themselves having times when it just feels like it's too much. And I want you to recognize and to trust that that is a normal part of the process. I wish it wasn't, honestly, I really do. I wish that we didn't have to go through that to feel a lot of that in order to heal. And the truth is, we don't have to feel every ounce of the pain that we have buried away in order to heal. We truly don't. And a lot of the pain that we feel in our current healing process, it's not about going back and feeling all of the things that you push to the side, though you will likely feel some of those feelings. A lot of what you feel along this healing process is grief. Grief around the variety of losses that the trauma created for you in your life. So recognizing when that's happening, and this is also one of the reasons why I think it's really important to be working with somebody who is trained and qualified in working with survivors of trauma, childhood trauma in particular. Because it's natural that you're going to go through that process. And it's also very natural that when you're in that place, you're going to pull back. Because those coping mechanisms, those survival tactics, are going to recognize this does not feel good, this is not okay, this is not safe, and want to pull you back. When you have somebody that you're working with to heal, that person can keep you present, keep you engaged, and help move you through it instead of just trying to push all that stuff back into that suitcase and put it away. Because for healing, we need to be able to unpack, process it all, get rid of everything, and then start fresh. If we stop in the middle of those feelings, or kind of at any point, but especially in those times, not only are we going to try to hurry and pack things away, but we're likely going to shut down to protect from the feelings and the memories, whatever it is that might be coming up to the surface. So it's really important to recognize it is normal, unfortunately, that if you don't give up and try to put everything back in that suitcase and you are working through it, ideally with somebody that can help you, you will move through that. You truly will move through that. Not going to be easy. Sometimes it might be easier than others, depending on a lot of factors, including how vulnerable you're feeling generally, how much stress there is in your life, how much support you have, how much support you're allowing yourself to receive, because sometimes those are different, right? Making sure that you are not giving up on yourself at a time when your child self needs you as an adult to be able to stand up and say, I've got this, and we're not alone anymore. And when you say we're not alone, it's that child within you is not alone, and the person you are in this moment is not alone, because hopefully you have support. Knowing that while it may be incredibly difficult right now, that you will be able to move through that. Not with blinders on, not just gritting your teeth and bearing it until you get to the other side. Because ultimately what that is putting it back in the suitcase. When you're working through it and processing it, you're literally unpacking it. You're organizing it. You're sorting through it. You're making sense of it. You're processing it. And that is what is necessary for healing. If we just keep putting it back in the suitcase, you're not going to be able to get to the place that you desire or deserve, because that's always going to be there. And you can do it. And you'll do it potentially several times throughout this journey. Because there may be different things that are coming up. There may be new things in your life that are challenging, that you're having to deal with as well. And even if it's something new, there might be some familiar feelings from the trauma, from what you've believed about who you are, that come to the surface. Or it might be a whole new sort of experience that you're having to process and work through. But it is inevitable that you will find your place, or find yourself in a place, where things are feeling much bigger, much more raw, much harder, much more painful potentially than they have in the past, because you have been a master at being able to put everything to the side and just do what you need to do to get on with your life. Truly, you have mastered that, at least to a degree. And probably most people watching this, you've mastered it pretty well. Part of the process is kind of unlearning all of those ways that you've mastered it. So instead of pushing it aside, you can be with it. And again, being with it doesn't mean that you're going back and reliving it. You lived through the most painful part already. processing it, especially when you have support, certainly can be painful. But it is not as painful as it was then. What is different is that you are more conscious of the pain. You're more aware that you're grieving. You're more aware of the loss that you've experienced. You have to be intentional about doing things a little differently, whether that is something like reality testing, pushing yourself to not isolate, engage in healthier coping mechanisms, and all of that can be exhausting, both physically and emotionally. Part of that is because it's new. It's something you're exploring, and that always takes more energy. When you're used to just putting it aside and not allowing it to come to the surface, it feels better because you're not actually feeling. And I think some might even argue that you're also not actually really living your life fully. Certainly not from a place of freedom, experiencing the sense of freedom that you deserve. So it is natural for things to feel more intense, to feel things that maybe you've not really ever felt before. It's also natural to think that that means something bad, that you're not going to be able to get through it, that it's much worse than you thought, that things are going to continue to get worse. It's natural to have those ideas, those fears. And while it can take time to get through that, and as I said, it comes up periodically the longer you are on this journey, and that is natural too. But I say this from experience, my own, and in the work that I've done, and even talking to other people that I haven't specifically worked with myself. But when you don't give up on yourself, when you have support and you continue, and yeah, maybe you need a rest for a while, and that's perfectly okay, and that rest can look different ways. But as long as you do not give up on yourself and the healing that you deserve, you will get through that phase that is telling you that you were better off before, that it's not worth it, that it's not going to get better, that it's only going to get worse. I have been fortunate enough to witness so many of those periods where people have gotten to that place. And some, unfortunately, have quit. Fortunately, I think for me and for them, many more have continued. And when you push past that, when you're able to move through that, stick with it, and get to the other side of that, you get to experience the reality that while it might have been really difficult, you got through it. While it may have felt worse than something you've ever felt before, not only did you get through it, but you're able to feel something that maybe you also haven't got to feel before in a positive way. You learn the reality of your strength. You begin to trust in your ability to manage and to cope. And when it happens again, you're going to doubt yourself. But you've got this other experience that you can rely on to look back at and say, okay, this was really hard before, and I got through it. And there may be the voice that says, yeah, but this time feels worse. or this time somehow is different. Maybe the memory or the particular feeling feels more difficult. There's going to be a voice that's telling you this time it's different. This time you're not going to be able to get through it. But that's what that voice does, because it's trying to protect you from feeling, from risking. But then you get through it again. And that, getting through it, is so much about what this healing process is. Because you begin to feel grounded in the reality and the truth that you have everything that you need to heal already within you. That on those days when you're not sure how you're going to get through it, you do. And you end up feeling even better than you realized you possibly could. And you deserve that. And you're capable of that, as long as you don't give up on yourself. I'd love to hear from you. Share what came up for you in the comments. I'm guessing many of you can probably relate to at least a time or two when that has happened. And if it has, I would encourage you to think about, what did you do in those times? Did you allow yourself to continue to be supported? Or did it feel like it was too much and you thought that you'd never be able to get through it and maybe stop, even if it was just for a period of time? There's nothing wrong with that. Certainly don't be ashamed of that. But hopefully this has helped you recognize that there isn't anything wrong with you. It's not that you're not capable. It's not that it's too much for you. Because you have lived through the worst part of it, without a doubt. And I know it may not seem that way because you were shut off from feeling. You needed to not be able to feel the depth of what you were experiencing. So it does often feel worse now. Just don't give up on yourself. Share your thoughts and reactions in the comments. If you found this helpful, make sure to save it or share it so other people can more easily find it. Thanks so much for being here. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.